Okay, hi Arnold.
Hi.
Couldn't you represent yourself and your company?
Yeah, it's good to be here. My name is Arnold Blinn. I'm the chief architect at GoDaddy. I've been with the company for about 6 years, helping to build products for our customers.
And couldn't you explain a little bit difference in US market, as you run companies all over the world and you started from US, as you know. Couldn't you explain what is the US difference from other markets?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, when I joined GoDaddy 6 years ago, GoDaddy was largely a US company. We had customers worldwide, as long as those customers were willing to transact with us in English. Over the last 5 years, we've invested very heavily in taking the company and the products and making them global. We're currently in more than 30 markets, or 30 languages and 50 markets around the world. So as we've taken the company global, of course, there's a lot of things you need to think about. You need to think about not just the translation of the product. You need to think about the currency and payment instruments that customers use to buy products. You also have to think about what makes a product good in a market. So I can give an example. We have a website builder and with templates, and when somebody starts with a template based on sports in the United States, you might show American football, but when you come into Europe, you can't show American football.
Yes.
If you go into Germany and you set up a restaurant, you can't show American food, you have to show German food.
Yeah.
So products require not just translation, but they also require customization for the market that you're going into.
And how you solve this problem, if it's not a secret, with these pictures, for example, for the restaurants and for the football? I just add additional templates, or?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's no secret way to do this easily. It just takes work. So
it takes time.
It takes time. So you have to create the templates and author them and have local experts who understand what would work and what doesn't work in the markets.
You provide support in many languages, and as I know, in US you provide support in Spanish and English. Yes.
Yes. So we believe very much in supporting customers in the language they speak. And in fact, we value customer care very highly at GoDaddy, and we believe that's one of our special tricks for helping customers. But in the United States, our care agents speak Spanish and English. But around the world, when we support people in different markets, our care agents speak the language of the customer.
Can you explain your company a little bit with numbers? So you have about 7,000 plus employees and about more than 5,000 work in support, yes?
Yeah, so we're about 7,500 employees worldwide. Probably 5,000 or 5,500 of them work in our call centers around the world, which gives us about 2,000 employees not in call centers around the world.
So at about 65% typically in a big hosting company should work for support.
Well, I think it varies by company. GoDaddy happens to be a very customer support centric company. So, I don't know that our ratios would work for another company. So I can't comment on that. But I know for us that we find having not just support, but phone support where people can call and talk to a human who understands their business is extremely important to our business model and how we do business as a company.
And the US market competition is like higher than other markets. Of course, there are many markets and there are many points of view, but when you compare US market, for example, to Europe market, what about competition, about customer price, how it costs to get the customer, about people how many hours support need each customer, or just does the US market very complicated, or it's quite understandable, or it's more complicated than others?
I don't know that I would say one market is more complicated than the other. I would say that every market's a little different. When we enter a market and we're the new player, obviously we need to build market share. And when we enter a market, our customer mix may be a little different than the company mix and the customer mix in the United States. In the U.S., we've been around a long time, and we have a large percentage of domain names, so we really lead with the domain name in that market. and the customer, I would just say, life cycle is a little bit more mature than if we enter a new market. Competition, the competition also varies greatly from one market to the other. And again, we see a lot of the same players worldwide, but when we come into new markets, say in Europe, there's often smaller entrenched players in smaller countries, and they have their own unique specialties as well. So there's really no formulaic way to approach that problem.
If you know some specific for payment gateways in US, so it's typically credit cards, PayPal, or something more, Bitcoins, or.
Well, in the U.S., certainly, yeah. So we don't transact in Bitcoin, but we do accept PayPal. We accept credit cards in the U.S. or the dominant payment instruments.
Like bank transfers?
Some bank transfers as well. It's not as common. Bank transfers aren't as common as a way of interacting online in the United States as they are in some of the European countries. I think you see a little bit more of that in Germany, for example. But in the U.S., the internet's been around a long time. People are very used to doing commerce online, so credit cards are extremely common for online transactions in the US.
Couldn't you explain a little bit Domain Connect to the world? So GoDaddy is like you are like founder of this project, and this is no profitable project, so it's open source.
Yeah. So I happen to have the shirt on, right? So Domain Connect. So let me tell you what Domain Connect is. So Domain Connect started as an internal project at GoDaddy, and it was a way to make it easy for web services that people were building, and that could be an email service like Office 365 or G Suite, or a website that could be at something like Site.pro or at WP Engine, where it's a hosted WordPress site. And the way people used to set that up is they would type a domain name, and the service provider would then have to figure out where is the DNS running for that domain name, and they used heuristics to figure that out. Once they figured it out, they would present instructions to the customer. Go add this A record, this MX record, and customers get lost. They have to call customer support. A lot of them abandon the service. So Domain Connect, we created it as a way to make it easy for services to attach to our DNS. Well, we realized after we built it that it was a pretty useful generic protocol. It could help anyone. So we open sourced it. We started working with some other registrars, initially one-on-one out of Germany, and they implemented the protocol. After that, we got a lot of service providers and more DNS providers on board. In the process, we took the thing and we made it a completely open source project. So it's really not a GoDaddy thing now, it's really a community thing that's all published under the website domainconnect.org.
And I saw in your brochure that typically there are about 900 cases with domains. Like when you park domain or reject domains, there are about 900 cases what to do with domains. And with Domain Connect, you can reduce this number to about 35% to reduce number.
I think you're quoting a case study from WP Engine, which is one of the services that went on. So those are their numbers, not mine. But in general, what we're finding from the service providers is we're finding a significant drop-off, not only in the number of people that are calling their care, but in the number of customers that have to call our customer care. Because customers would sometimes call us, they sometimes call the service provider. We're also seeing a greater attach rate of domain names. So there are services where people can have more than one domain name attached to it. We're seeing an uplift in that, and we're also seeing a more sticky renewal business around the domains that are attached to services. So not only does it make it easier for the customer just has to click a link and approve a change to DNS without messing around with the records. It has real financial benefits to both the service provider and the DNS provider.
What do you think about latency over the world? For example, when person is hosting in Europe and somebody opened his website from US, website will open with 100 milliseconds latency. And typically for professional websites like who run like VPSs or who run like more servers, he can buy CDNs or something. But typical user, he unable to run his like mirror somewhere. What do you think about like making a big network of, I don't know, maybe 10 servers and put website copy everywhere and open it very, very fast? It's like your own CDN, but for end customers who run shared hosting. What do you think it's like? Could be some. Will customers support that project, or it's maybe not interesting as small customers don't care what is the speed in China for their website?
Well, I think it depends on the customer. Mm-hmm. So some customers don't care. Mm-hmm. Some customers do care. And so the GoDaddy customer, what they care is that their website is performing and is available to their customers. Mm-hmm. They don't care whether there's a CDN behind it or whether it's on multiple servers or not. They just want it to work. Mm-hmm. And that's our goal. Our goal is to make the products work well for the customers worldwide. To achieve that, we do have data centers around the world. We have data centers in the United States, we have data centers in Europe, we have data centers in Asia. And we have applications that run across those data centers and replicate them. We do provide CDN services to our customers for certain products as well. So, but our goal being is to make the product run well for the customer's needs, not necessarily provide them a bunch of infrastructure and let them have to figure it out themselves.
And if we return a little bit back to site builders.
Yes, sir.
Do you see like a site builder like a separated product that you can upsell like domains, or like a website builder is like a part of hosting and it can increase hosting company sales, like not like with website builder sales, but like it's maybe get more attraction from customers and then upsell them with hosting services? So maybe question is like if you run your own hosting company, GoDaddy is yours, would you run a website builder like a separate product, like SSL, or it should be a part of hosting services?
Yeah, so I can tell you what we do is we at GoDaddy we run our site builder. It's called GoCentral in the United mm-hmm. States. It's website builder the rest of the world wide. Our site builder product is sold as a separate product. Mm-hmm. It's a separate sale. So when a customer has a domain, and that's for most of our customers their entry point to our business. When they have a domain and they want to add a website to it, they have a choice, and their choice is they can use our site builder, they can use our shared hosting, they can get a VM or a dedicated server and run their website on that infrastructure as well. So it's really not bundled with hosting per se, it's really a bespoke sale.
Okay, could you explain a little bit, if you can explain it, about biggest fails of GoDaddy? For example, maybe some small companies, they fail and they think that I make mistakes, so it breaks me down. I meet some companies, for example, in Ukraine, when war crisis starts, they physically took all servers, put to the car and move with the car to other city and build new data center. So of course they lose many customers. But can you explain?
They had a little bit of downtime when they did that.
Yes, of course, downtown.
A really good cell phone connection and a generator in the back of the car, and they would have stayed up. Certainly we've had failures. GoDaddy is a 20-plus-year-old company, and along the way, we've had great success, but we've had failures as well. I think the important thing when it comes to failure is, at least my attitude about it, and I think the company's attitude about it, is you want to try things. You want to try things for customers and not be afraid to fail. Mm-hmm. So I think failure is an important part of being a business. So
maybe 3 months ago, I just go to the GoDaddy website, just type in email, type a domain name, search for it, see the price. I earlier had registration of GoDaddy, but I was not logged in.
I see.
In 3 months, I get email. In 15 minutes, I get email that you can register this domain cheaper than you was on the website or something. I don't remember, but the idea that you recognize me, relate with my email, and send me email. So I think that it's huge technical background behind this.
Yeah, so we've invested a fair amount of energy in building what we call marketing communications and having conversations with customers and being able to understand, what their intent is, what they want to do, and being able to address, not just selling products to them, but their needs as a customer. So yeah, there's a good investment in the technology underneath the covers to implement that.
And maybe last question about hosting market.
Yeah.
So I meet many leading hosting companies, and in their markets, for example, 100 million people or 50 million people, and they afraid of the shared hosting and domain future. For example, that maybe domains will not exist in 20 years. And what is your point of view? I just explained an example. SSL was not so popular several years ago. It was only for VAP companies. Google make some changes in algorithm, SSL start growing. Then Google change algorithm again. Google doesn't highlight green certificates.
Yeah, that's right.
So I should think that green certificates sales should be goes down. Maybe tomorrow everyone provide his own internet. Android has his own internet. App Store it's his own internet. We have like browser internet, and we live in browser internet. And maybe Google is his internet. He can remove domains in search. For example, when you search something, you can see companies but not domains. And maybe about shared hosting market in close maybe 20 or 50 years, will it exist or will it change?
Domains are important for the hosting piece. So now let's talk about hosting.
Domains is also important for email, and if hosting doesn't exist, we still need domains for emails.
Well, but one could also argue that there's new communication mediums like Slack and other things that are going to replace email. So, and I've heard that debate as well.
Okay.
Right. But we believe domains and email and hosting does have a place in the industry, certainly in 10 years and further. In terms of shared hosting, because that's another question you asked there, and I think it's an important one. Our industry is going through some radical transformations, especially with these large cloud providers coming online. So Microsoft with Azure, Google with their cloud, Amazon, of course, with AWS, right? And so the question is, what does shared hosting look like in that cloud world? And that's something we spend a lot of time thinking about. Certainly, there's going to be disruption in the hosting industry. I think it's inevitable with these large cloud data centers. However, one thing is, I think, gonna exist, which is that customers, especially the customers of shared hosting companies today worldwide and GoDaddy, they're not big companies. They can't afford a large VM in the cloud that has unbounded costs. They need a budget way to host their online presence. What that looks like may not be shared hosting. It might be a site builder. It may be a container in the cloud running WordPress. Yeah, exactly. But so, running in an Amazon or in a Microsoft data center.
Or just an app, his own app or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So that will change. And I think that will change in the 5-year time horizon. If I knew exactly how it changed, I'm certainly not telling you, and I'm trying to figure that out. I think the important thing for a company to do is to always be looking at this and thinking about this and thinking about the evolution of the industry and evolving with it. Because otherwise, the disruptions will happen. I think they'll happen in small incremental ways. But if that happens enough, in 10 years, you will find yourself running a shared hosting platform and nobody wants shared hosting anymore. So I think that's a possibility, a strong possibility. Where it goes, I don't know. So that's why we're trying different things.
Thank you, Arnold.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to talk to you.